My name is Phil Siddu. I'm the owner at Nora Restaurant in Chicago.
So Phil, tell me about how you got into restaurants. I mean, you've been in them for a long time, but tell me about like growing up around a restaurant and being involved in it from such a young age.
Yeah, I mean, I was always in it. I grew up in it and started working in restaurants when I was 12, started bussing tables and just tried to learn as much as I could about the business. So right out of high school, I started cooking and just focusing on specific things like pizza. I made pizza for 2 years straight and just moved on to every station I could and then eventually moved to the front of the house. Always just kind of been in the industry.
So you grew up in it, you got practice on all the different stations. What were some of like the biggest takeaways that you had? Like what were the biggest lessons you learned as you were stacking each of these skills?
The first lesson and one of the biggest was just having a sense of urgency. First chef I worked with, one of the first lessons he taught me is that every minute in the kitchen to us is like 3 minutes to the customer. So it's just a relativity thing where once they order, time is going by a lot quicker for them where they are wanting things faster. And for a restaurant to meet that standard, they have to be as quick as they can in the back of the house and the front of the house.
That's a great lesson in hospitality. Like that's awesome. That talks about how important time is to an operator too. Yeah. It's not just the customers, but that means that anybody who's supporting the restaurant has to have the same urgency, right?
Yeah.
So when you think about some of your best partners, you feel that urgency is important for them too?
Definitely. I mean, there's times when we have to call somebody, it'll be 10 o'clock at night, it'll be Saturday, so that partnership where they can respond as quickly as we need them to is paramount.
So you grew up in like the famous, legendary Valore restaurant, one of my favorite places in Chicago. Now you've started Nora nearby, so tell me about how that came about, what lessons you're taking from all that time in Valore bringing to Nora.
I mean, Nora actually isn't a person, it's a place. It's an ancient city in Sardinia off the coast of Italy where my family's from, expands on the Italian roots and goes a little bit more broad with, we have Sardinian food, traditional food. It's almost like a separate world or a separate country when you go there, but we also incorporated elements of Greece, Spain, mainland Italy, other parts of the Mediterranean that we're all just experimenting with and bringing on the menu seasonally. And yeah, it seemed like a natural progression, I guess, to continue with what my family started almost 30 years ago.
So you opened the restaurant about 6 months ago?
Yeah.
Is that right? How have the first 6 months been? How has been the reception from customers so far?
Really great. From locals, and now we're getting into tourist season, so we're getting a lot of out-of-towners that are really enjoying it. We started off in kind of the slow season for restaurants in January and February in Chicago. Came out of the winter and we had just built up some goodwill in the neighborhood and built up our awareness, and we've just been rocking and rolling ever since then, getting really, really busy.
So you've got the hospitality part down, right? You've got all the experience on the food side. Can you talk about how you've worked on managing technology in the restaurant, as all restaurants have to, learn to kind of adapt specific technologies to make the restaurant work?
That's kind of my background with working in ghost kitchens and working with off-premise and catering and focusing on that for the last few years. I know better than most operators, and most operators already know how important it is, but just how to incorporate what the technology stack is supposed to be, what's going to work well together, because that sort of seamless integration between all your different technology partners is just as important as being able to serve food quickly and serve high quality food for the customer.
I totally forgot you were involved in starting in ghost restaurants and all this other, kind of like really innovative technology side. So you've got all these years in Valore kind of mastering the hospitality side, but now you've also got years on the technology side where you've been doing really well and you've been learning. What are some of the takeaways you've had from your experience running tech companies?
It's been the other side of the business, I guess, where I'm getting to talk to restaurant operators or franchisees or cooks from just a different point of view, and just they may have muscle memory in just a traditional operation, so bringing in something that's going to potentially disrupt or break the operation, that being able to speak the same language and know what their pain points are or what they might be nervous about, it's made it a lot easier for me going back into full service, kind of anticipating what is going to come up.
Talk to us about, what has the experience been like, working with Chowly, the team, the support, the technology?
I think we first met almost 6 years ago. Yeah. We had a ghost kitchen back then where we had 75 tablets, all with different concepts, and you guys came in with your printer at the time and took all 75 tablets down to one printer, and it saved us a ton of headache and a ton of space, and it was just overnight we improved our operation, and so we've just maintained that partnership wherever we could over the years. And now we're getting in with Nora and integrating with our POS with Chowly, and even adding the online ordering as well. It all just came together nicely.
Yeah. In the past, when you were first working with Chowly, you went from 75 tablets to 1?
To 0, we just had the printer.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you got rid of that. You can talk about efficiency there, right?
Yeah.
As you've kind of moved back into full service, right? Full service and virtual restaurants have very different priorities, right? In the virtual restaurant scene, off-premise and delivery is almost the entire business.
Right.
In full service, it's a piece of it. How has you noticed any difference in the the support that you've been getting from Chowly of when it was dependent and critical to the business, now where it's like incremental revenue?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been extremely consistent, and now that we're transitioning to a new point of sale system, that sort of step-by-step service that we've been getting from Chowly, and just switching things over in tandem with you guys as we switch our POS company. As we switch over our POS company, it's just made things a lot easier to be able to take our technology partner with us into the new point of sale company with Chowly, just automatically integrating with everything as soon as we turn everything on.
So Chowly's gone through a lot of changes since you've met us, right? When you first met us, we were just working with third-party marketplaces. Now we're doing things like first-party ordering, we're doing things like digital marketing. How do you feel as a restaurant, as an operator, hey, our partner is looking out for what's ahead, not necessarily our needs today, but our needs tomorrow?
Starting with the third party and the problem that you guys solve with like the mountain of tablets and everything, but it's just you're anticipating what your customers are going to need, and that's why we're utilizing not just the third party integration, but also online ordering, digital marketing. So it makes sense to keep it all with you guys.
If you could give one piece of advice to an operator who's just starting a full service restaurant, could be technology related, food related, anything, what would be the one biggest piece of advice you'd give them?
Who you hire is going to be really important right out of the gate, and have enough runway when you start. have an idea of what your tech stack should be when you start as well, so you're not turning that on later. That's easy revenue right out of the gate that you could be getting as soon as you open your doors, or even before. So narrow it down to people, having enough capital, and a plan for your technology when you open.